So in my recent fake mid-tier characters video, I got a lot of comments, which I really much appreciate. I honestly haven't had this many comments on a video ever, so this gave me the inspiration to do a follow-up video of characters I really think are mid-tier. I just want to preface this by saying that just because they're mid-tier doesn't mean they are bad or they can't win in Smash Ultimate. I just want you to keep in mind that for every 5th place a mid-tier gets at a major, they have a ton of tournament results of them losing to top tier characters, but it's very easy to show a mid-tier doing well than a mid-tier not doing well. All that being said, here we go. First up, we're going to be talking about Kirby. Kirby has a ton of combos. He actually has some interesting utility when it comes to getting his absorb, getting his copy ability when it comes to certain matchups, and he is very powerful. They kind of buffed his force match to the point that made it so strong. Like, you get tripped by down tilt and you die at like 55 as like a light character and like 70 as a heavy character sometimes. Like, you explode against Kirby. Now, I will admit that J-Jaw and Gilhue, who are the 2 top Kirbys that I know of, have been putting in work. This character might be mid-tier in my eyes, but they still have put in a lot of results, put in a lot of work, and it's been a long time coming. And I'm not really sleeping on that. It's just the fact that Kirby just has obvious flaws against a lot of characters that are really, really good. Yeah, he is a combo monster, but his neutral is very heavily based on that. If he doesn't get the hit, which he sometimes just can't because his range is really small and he's very slow and he's easy to juggle for certain characters, he just gets demolished by certain characters. Diddy Kong just pretty much never wants to get near Kirby and doesn't have to because of Banana. Game & Watch, while still being light as himself, just has better range and will juggle him really hard. Yeah, he still will have some moments where he can do stuff against certain characters who don't really know how to approach him or keep him out. Like, I think there are characters like Fox who would not want to fight Kirby, or Rob who does not want to fight Kirby, even though it's not very fun. Palutena doesn't want to fight Kirby, it's not very fun. But for every one of those matchups, you still have your Min-Mins, you still have your Diddies, you still have your Sonics, you still have your Game & Watches, you still have your Steves. Like, Kirby just has to work hard against a lot of top tiers. If he can't combo you to death, or even get in to do it, he does lose. They're still talented Kirby players, but these flaws just make it so I just don't see him ever being near high tier or top tier. Next up, we're going to be talking about Lucas. Lucas is probably one of the most potential characters in Ultimate because his advantage state goes insane. He has crazy setups to kill people at absurdly low percents when it comes to snake dashing and true confirms on fast follower characters. And I kind of get it. I kind of get people believing in Lucas, but I do think people are missing the other side of the game, because I think when people see Lucas's potential, they always point to his advantage state, except his neutral and disadvantage are just not very good. He might have one of the worst disadvantages in the game just because of how floaty he is. He basically has no option to get down, so he has to go to ledge or just go around a person a ton of times. He is quite light, which, I mean, being light isn't a problem if you're fast enough, but since he's not very fast and has a bad disadvantage, he will just explode to a lot of characters. And his neutral, while being fine, is still one of a stubby character with a mediocre projectile. Like, PK Fire is annoying, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't lead to anything. It's very shieldable. Platforms make it a lot worse because it has to go in a straight line. It's just, I don't know, his toolkit is just okay. And with his advantage state being so explosive, I get people wanting to fish for it, but he just never gets that hit. I just never see Lucas's get the hit they need to do that. And they have to do that for 3 stocks for 1 game. And they have to do that for 3 stocks for 1 game for 3 games. Like, I just don't see it happening. Maybe if there is a more consistent setup into those crazy things, maybe if the Lucas players find that, I can believe in him more. But for now, I think he's just a perfectly fine mid-tier. Something you're probably going to notice as a pattern when it comes to these mid-tier characters is that people value advantage state a bit too much, because I truly believe if you can't even get to that point, then you're gonna struggle. And Ice Climbers is the embodiment of that. Yeah, they do have crazy combos with crazy desyncs, and they are pretty good when they get into those spots, but I'm just not a believer. Yeah, they have hit me with it. I'm a Mario main, and Marios do not like fighting ice climbers. But even still, you have Rob who destroys them, you have Snake who destroys them, you have Min Min who destroys them, you have Pyra Mythra who destroys them, and it's all because they just never get to get that hit. And if they do, it's just like, okay, one mistake. And then you have to be perfect execution and perfect setup to be able to match it. They just don't have the neutral tools to be a great match against these top tiers who can just separate them very easily and then kill them. I think Big D doing his work as the top ice climber is very impressive, and he's a very, very good player. But there are just some sets that I just get so depressed watching because I know he's outplaying them as a player, but the character just isn't that crazy. I do believe that if Nana ever gets consistently like better as a AI, and if ice climbers get to one neutral tool that actually makes them win neutral, I can see this character getting higher and higher. And they're definitely not low tier like people thought at the beginning of the game, but I think mid tier is the most they can probably get, maybe even a hot top of mid tier, because yes, their setups are pretty crazy when they get him. I just don't see much potential in this character to go higher as they are right now. This character's advantage state, again, like many mid-tier advantage states, is pretty crazy, and there are really cool setups that Pichu can have, but at the end of the day, we can't hope for perfection, and you have to be so disciplined with Pichu to be able to win. This is one of those characters that I feel like never gets a lead. You always hurt yourself when you do your best moves, and you're very, very light. So any combo or any kill confirm that like 50 just obliterates you if they do get the hit. Maybe it could be down to their evasion, but ever since the nerf of Pichu having his ears be a part of his hitbox happened, he's just way too easy to hit, especially when it comes to edge guarding him, since he doesn't have any real way to contest you because his up B doesn't have a hitbox and his thunder is super obvious. I just think Pichu is past his prime, and everyone knows that by now, and there's honestly no hope for this guy. Like, he's probably gonna stay mid-tier forever. The only way I can see it is that they change the game, because I don't see there's any development that can make Pichu that crazy anymore. All I ever see is his advantage state getting better, because his neutral is just, it's just flawed with how he hurts himself with his own T-Jolt. Like, I wish they just didn't do that, but I get it, it's the gimmick of the character. I just think it makes him a lot worse than people realize, because he can't actually camp without any risk, and he's so light that he's basically hurting himself every single time he plays. Very high risk, medium reward character, and definitely deserves to be mid tier. And finally, and one of the main inspirations for this video, we have Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong has been putting in amazing work with the character. He's been implementing things that I've never seen any Donkey Kong do, and has been pushing the meta as far as a Donkey Kong can. If there's anyone who can probably prove me wrong about Donkey Kong being mid tier, it's Chunky Kong. He'll probably find something that will make Donkey Kong be more consistent. He'll probably find something that will make his disadvantage not be so bad. He'll probably find something that makes his bigness actually a buff. He'll probably find something that makes his recovery not so gimpable. Donkey Kong is probably the one to do it. But until then, I think all those things is why Donkey Kong is still mid-tier. At best. I used to think he was low tier, but his advantage state is crazy, like most mid-tiers are, and he can do a lot of damage if you get the right hit. And there are a lot of right hits for Donkey Kong. I could see why people believe in him now. He has so many crazy setups. He does just kill you at 50 with so many crazy moves. Some of his moves are ridiculous. Donkey Kong Punch is ridiculous. His Ding Dong combo is ridiculous. His carrying off stage of certain characters is ridiculous. His edge guarding can be ridiculous on certain characters. But we can't ignore the neutral. We can't ignore his disadvantage. We can't ignore how big he is. We can't ignore how gimpable he is. We can't ignore these things when it comes to Donkey. We can't ignore how any character in the game who with a combo probably fucks him up. Can't ignore any character with range that has real range, probably makes it so he can't get in and stops him from doing what he wants to do. But at the end of the day, I'll still believe in Donkey Kong. I'll still want him to be really good because I love Donkey Kong. He's really cool and he's one of my favorite characters to play. And if anyone's going to do it, it's Chunky Kong. But for now, I think mid-tier is the perfect spot for him to be.